Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It's been a very busy week here on GBFC. I've been going for some collab videos. The return of the podcast was yesterday, and just going into a bit more detail and depths on thoughts and feelings about things. And even though the transfer window is closed, I want us to take a little look today at some of the headlines, some of the stories that could end up shaping Chelsea's business in the summer. And we begin with an interesting one, and it is about one of the players that we loaned out in the January window. João Felix scored on his AC Milan debut, assisted by Santi Jimenez, another AC Milan signing in this window. And funnily enough, in the same game, Tammy Abraham scored too, against the club that he's on loan from. Not sure how that works. You've obviously got some different rules and clubs do it differently in Italy. But João Felix scoring on his AC Milan debut. I think with Felix, it's always going to be about, there's going to be somewhere where it just fits. Somewhere where it sticks. And it's not been Barcelona, not been Atletico, definitely hasn't been Chelsea. And if you want to hear more about my thoughts on Felix, I made a video last week where we go into details. But AC Milan director says, keeping João Felix here, it will depend on João and on us. There are always chances, even without a buy option clause. We have an excellent relationship with Chelsea, so we will see. João Felix at AC Milan, he scored on his debut. I really think this is a good move for him. The question marks will still be, was it the right thing for Chelsea? We got Brighton away tomorrow in the FA Cup. And I'm going to talk in a bit more detail about Nkunku in that video. So stay tuned, because now we've got to look forward to the rest of the season. For us here, but for me here on GBFC, as much as the club don't really do themselves any favours right now, I still want to focus on what we're doing on the pitch. We move into the next story, and this is a very interesting one indeed. When we talk about Chelsea's summer plans, if those summer plans do not involve bringing in an elite striker, then I officially give up with this football club. I say that, I'm always going to support Chelsea. I always want us to do well, but it's so clear that we have completely missed that real finisher, a proven goal scorer, and to be honest, some backup for Nicholas Jackson. So, the current news regarding Harry Kane. You guys see that we've put him on the thumbnail. This here is from Deadline Day Live. The release clause in the contract of Bayern Munich's Harry Kane will decrease from £67 million to £54 million over the next year. Tottenham will have the chance to match any club triggering Kane's release clause in the future. So, there isn't any direct links here that link Chelsea to Harry Kane. But if there was ever an opportunity to buy a top proven Premier League goal scorer, this is it. Harry Kane, in the last 10 years, has been about as prolific in the Premier League as it comes. Now, obviously, there is that Tottenham link. Would he ever consider going to Chelsea? I think, if anything, the most perfect move for Harry Kane would actually be to go to Arsenal. But would he ever do that? That is the question. That is the point. This is the latest on Kane's current thoughts. He's not currently planning to leave Bayern in the summer and is very happy at the club. The release clause is valid for €65 million only in January 2026, as Bild revealed. Premier League clubs aware, but no contact so far. So again here, I think next year it will go down in January most likely to 54 million. But Harry Kane, if there was the potential that Chelsea could sign Harry Kane, I am never saying no to this. Will Chelsea do that? Probably. There's about a 1% chance of it ever happening. Why? Because Harry Kane's a bit too old. Doesn't fit the model. But this would be the perfect illustration of how we can adjust this whole, we only sign young players, we only want to be a conveyor belt club. Prove that isn't the case this summer by actually buying an elite bagsman. Whether that is a Victor Osimhen, maybe he's considered too old at Chelsea now. I don't know. Harry Kane, as much as he is getting on, he would absolutely guarantee you goals for at least another 2 or 3 years. Meanwhile, that takes some of the pressure off Nicholas Jackson, who's already scored a lot of goals, but absolutely needs some of that pressure being taken off. And you can't just elevate that pressure from Jackson's shoulders and be like, there you go, Marc Guehi. You've got to do it for us now, because I don't think that's going to work either. So Harry Kane, if he is available for the prices that we've discussed here in this video, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this in the comments down below. Ideally, I think you've got to be looking, if you're Chelsea, if we're ambitious, and again, I've said that I don't think we are ambitious anymore, but I'm not going to stop barking about what I want to see. This summer, the dream signing for any club would be Alexander Isak. I think what we saw in Newcastle's win, the second leg 2-0 against Arsenal, Isak might not have got the goal, but man, is this guy a handful. Making Saliba chase shadows. Like, Alexander Isak is the dream. Will Chelsea be able to buy him? Will we even cough up 100 million ever again for a player? Questions on that as well. Can we even afford it? Unless we offload a serious amount of players. Victor Gyökeres also available for about half the price. Osimhen as well from Napoli. But we're talking here about Harry Kane today. I don't see it happening to Chelsea. I think if anything, Kane will go back and try and be the saviour at Tottenham Hotspur. Or if he's actually ambitious and he actually wants to go somewhere and win something, and Arsenal are ambitious, I think Kane to Arsenal makes so much sense more than any other transfer, if Kane is actually ambitious. But this summer, the plan has to be to sign a top striker. I don't think it will be Kane, but we're talking here about a release clause. And I think if Kane goes anywhere, it would be to a Premier League club. I don't think, maybe it would be Barcelona, but they can't afford anyone. They couldn't even get Rashford through the door in the summer. And I can only imagine Kane coming back and looking at that Premier League record thinking, that's mine, if he really wants to. Anyway, another interesting piece of news here. Chelsea are one of several clubs interested in Dean Howson. The Bournemouth defender has also attracted interest from Bayern Munich, Newcastle, also showing an interest. He has a release contact in the summer. So if we take a little look here at Dean Howson's stats this season, 18 minutes played, 2 goals from an XG of 1.5, 25 shot creating actions in 18 games for Bournemouth this season is amazing. And if you're not aware of this website, FBref, these green arrows mean that he's in the top percentile for all of these statistics. For a centre-back, top 1% for goals. And of course, they're not penalties. He doesn't take the penalties. Kluivert does. Shot creating actions in the top 4% of centre-backs. And all of these stats here, apart from pass completion, but even still, 85%, that's not bad at all. We're not turning our nose up at that. This guy is attempting long balls all the time. So when you look at those passes completed, the reason that it is significantly lower than other centre-backs who are usually just passing between themselves is that Dean Howson absolutely has everything that you would want from a defender. As much as Chelsea obviously spend a lot of time, slow build-up, we're waiting for the right passing option to open. Having that player that can see a long ball, that can spread it out to a winger or even a Cucurella that's bombing down the left side. What we've seen from Bournemouth this season, Milos Kerkesh getting forward, the overloads that Bournemouth have are all down to the passing capacity and capabilities of this man right here, Dean Howson. He has been one of the best players in the defensive position in the Premier League all season long. So to see Chelsea linked with him, I know that buying players from lower clubs, and to be fair, I can't even talk about Bournemouth like this anymore because they're right hot on our tails in the Premier League themselves. But I think this would be a great signing personally. I think he's a quality player. I think he's Dutch-Spanish, still very young as well, so it makes sense to see Chelsea linked with him. But of course, another player would be Marc Guehi. Tottenham failed with a late offer for Crystal Palace captain Marc Guehi, worth up to 70 million quid during the final 48 hours of the transfer window. Spurs will revisit their long-term interest, while Chelsea and Newcastle monitoring closely as well. Marc Guehi, I think, would just walk straight into the Chelsea team. He'd be an upgrade on the defenders we've currently got. And I think this summer, there is going to be an emphasis potentially, unless Levi Colwill massively turns around his form. Chelsea will be in the market for another centre-back. And Anselmino, I think he'll probably go on loan next season. I can't imagine him being ready to be a starting centre-back at Chelsea as early as the summer. We'll have to wait and see. But Marc Guehi, I think, again, very expensive. Maybe we can get Dean Howson on a cheaper deal from Bournemouth, but also potentially not. Chelsea will keep on following Nico O'Reilly. They believe he has big talent, big potential. They wanted to invest 20 to 25 million pounds immediately and make him the new midfielder of Enzo Maresca. City said no, and Chelsea went for a different strategy, Matheus Cunha. I mean, are we really... Was there ever really a strategy here other than young player, high potential, high sell-on value? I said this in the video in the podcast yesterday, the 3 More Points pod. If you haven't already listened to it, check the video out on YouTube. It's also on Spotify if you'd rather listen to it, if it's a bit too long for your attention. But I genuinely don't think Maresca at any given point here has any say in any of these transfers. And we know that that is almost true because he said he's just the coach. He just wants to focus on dealing with what he's got and trying to make players better. It's not exactly the elite mentality that we're talking about, is it? Nico O'Reilly could become a great player again, but is he walking straight into that Chelsea midfield right now? No. Will we move forward with any more midfielders in the summer with this man, Andre Santos, coming back in the summer? This, I'm very excited about. As I said in the video that... Well, actually, no. I can't even say it yet because the video's coming out later today. We did a ranking video for every signing of the Todd Boehly Clear Lake era so far. And I talk about Santos in that video. But there are some players that are obviously top signings. There are some good ones, unproven ones. Basically, I'm foreshadowing the video that's coming later today. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss it. But Santos, I'm absolutely buzzing about. He's having a magnificent season. There is mixed reports at the moment that he's either going to come back, be a mainstay and a key player for Chelsea in the future. We've heard that a lot. But obviously, with the way that we're doing business, Santos could be another one of those high profit sales. I don't want to see this happen. We were told when these new owners came in that with this new transfer model, the best would be kept at Chelsea. So I really hope if there is an element of truth in anything that we have been told, Santos will be a very telling part of this. If Santos goes, we know that's bullshit. If Santos stays, this kid is class. And he will walk into the Chelsea squad for next season. Maybe not starting every game, but I absolutely think he's got the legs and he's got the ability to do so. The final story of what has been a pretty stacked news video, to be fair, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Wolves forward Matheus Cunha has a release clause worth £62 million. Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Villa and Nottingham Forest are among the clubs to have monitored the Brazil international. I'll say this about Matheus Cunha. Great player. I think he's obviously the best player at Wolves. Signed a new deal. He famously scored that goal now with the celebration just before signing a new Wolves contract. Doesn't mean this guy isn't leaving in the summer. He's absolutely leaving. Whether or not Wolves stay up or not, he will go somewhere. And I think Cunha, again, when we're looking at the striker list of players that Chelsea could be potentially buying this summer, I really think we should be going all out for that more physical striker. I think Cunha does well in physical situations. He gets his body on the line. He scored an amazing goal against Villa where you can see just how nimble he is on his feet. He can score all different types of goals. I wouldn't be opposed to this, you know. This needs to be the kind of caliber of player that we go for. I just do worry if he is that kind of box presence. I think Chelsea are desperately in need of someone that can score aerial goals for a start if we're going to keep crossing the ball, which you've got great crosses of the ball at the club. We need someone who can nod these in. And I'm looking at Osimhen. I'm looking at the caliber of goals that he keeps scoring. Obviously, we talked earlier in this video about Harry Kane, and Harry Kane can score all different types of goals too, but it's probably a bit too old for these owners, to be fair. Matheus Cunha, really good player. But I think to conclude this video, we don't normally do news videos after the transfer window is closed, but what we're hearing with all these stories today is about Chelsea's plans potentially for the summer. And talking about these caliber of players, the majority of them today in this video, I think these are good players. And this is exactly what we need at Chelsea. We need to be elevating the first team squad, improving the first team squad. But importantly, more than anything else, we need to finish in the top 4 or top 5 if it means we can get it, if coefficient goes in English clubs' favour. As I've already alluded to in this video, stay tuned later on today. There is a tier list ranking every signing of the Clear Lake era, as well as that Brighton preview. The game's tomorrow night. It's Saturday morning. Preview will be uploaded then. Loads of content this week, so make sure you backcheck, either one works really, on the channel. See if there's anything you might have missed. The 3 More Points podcast was back yesterday. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all the love and support. I'll see you in the next one.